Okay, I'm gonna try and do this in Spanish. Es un placer para mí presentar Ilenia Herrera Lutz. How was that?
That was perfect. Mucho gusto, Adam. So great to see you. Gracias.
Okay, so give us a quick introduction to you.
Ilenia Herrera Lutz out of Chicago via Panama. And I ran into my career in HR by chance. I am actually come from management consulting, and I was always helping the recruiters. And I fell in love with the idea of opening up opportunities for people. So here I am.
Wonderful. Okay. Um, what to you is recruiter enablement all about?
I think it's about empowering recruiters to be the best talent advisors so they can make the best decisions to advocate for candidates. And I think the ultimate goal is finding the right fit for the person and for the company, finding the best fit for the role and the team. And I use an and there purposely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. Explain why you've used the purposefully and give us a bit more around what that's all about.
Well, I think sometimes we are so focused on skills and the skills are ever changing, right, at the pace of things that are going. So I think at the end of the day, you want someone who's the right fit for the role, but also has the potential to grow with the team. And being that company culture and that employee engagement is so important, you want to make sure that it's a win-win, right? The person likes what they're doing, they have the potential to grow into the role, but they also love the values and the culture code of that organization.
Mm, right. Okay. So, I've come and joined your team. Like, what are the things that I'm going to be doing first? How am I going to be getting enabled to do a great job for your organization?
I think part of it obviously is the processes and the technology pieces. And I
Yeah.
think those can be dissected in a number of ways. But I think also it's really important for you to come in and understand what our company is about, our mission, vision, what is the importance of our core values and the culture code, and then really spending time with the stakeholders, right? I think at the end of the day, there are customers and being aligned and buy-in of why a role is not a great opportunity. I think it's important. I think people are more powerful when they understand the context and the whys and where things are heading. So I think those things are equally important. And I think understanding and educating really people in processes is so critical because otherwise their work gets bumpy and frustrating, right? You want people to be able to just flow and be empowered to make the best decisions for the candidate and for their stakeholders.
Mm,
I don't know, keeping it
absolutely.
simple, right?
No, no, I think that's really important. But an additional question from that you made me think about is like, how do we extend some of this to stakeholders as well? Because if I'm a recruiter, I'm working with the sales leader, hiring go-to-market people. If I go and say to that person, like, right, what are the top three best reasons that somebody would want to come and join your team? That person, I mean, salespeople are normally quite influential and, ability to achieve it, good connection with people. So they might be able to answer it quite well. But a lot of hiring managers would be like, we're in a nice office, or we're doing exciting work, or they might not necessarily know. Should we be enabling the hiring managers as well to understand?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think the training of hiring managers is as important as the recruiters because depending on where you are in the world, there's different views of what a recruiter is. For some people is do as I say, very transactional, which is not a good situation. So
No.
I think it's fostering an environment where you build trust and credibility, which takes time. You don't do that overnight. And the way you achieve that is seeing the actions, right? Where you advocated, where you impacted, where you did as you said and brought the right candidates. And so I think that needs to go hand in hand. Where I work, we are spending quite a bit of time of doing that, whether it's the social media pieces for the recruiters and the hiring managers, but also in the recruitment process. So that needs to be kind of hand in hand with training on both sides, right? And obviously
Absolutely.
leaders kind of setting the tone, right? That this is kind of how we best work, and the internal communication piece is super important.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So I believe that recruitment is more of a marketing-led job than it ever has been. When I started in recruitment, I was not really writing almost anything for my job. It was nearly all talking. And today, probably 70% of it is writing things to people to get them to move to the next stage or to politely turn them down or whatever it is. Um, how what how how can we make recruiters, how can we give recruiters what they need to be better marketers?
I think it's the education, right? First of, the business, the products, the business groups. Then it's also investing time in them, right? Courses on influencing others, public speaking, right? Obviously we have ChatGPT who can facilitate, right? Creating sort of strong drafts, right? That you then hopefully you can put your own voice and values to it. But I think it's also that investing in what are all the tools and the capabilities. We spent quite a bit of time doing periodic training on certain things, right? What is the next functionality, whether it's LinkedIn or some of the other platforms that we use, and sharing that knowledge. I think it's just an ongoing idea of investment in your recruiters, and having very clear training development programs for your individuals that speak to them. Like, what are the strengths? All that process of self-awareness, right? Strengths, opportunities, and then what are the trainings that they're interested in or where they have gaps to, help them, be more educated and more optimal in what they do.
Absolutely. Okay. Um, I want to talk about data and I want to talk about technologies, but let's talk about data first. So I think that, again, much as recruitment's more marketing led than it ever has been, it's also more data led than it ever has
Yes.
been. And we want to be trying to detect trends and where are people falling out the process and where are people coming into processes. And there's so many different things that we can learn from data. Um, how do we enable recruiters to better understand things with reporting and analytics and that type of stuff?
Yeah, and I think that needs to be baked into those career development plans that we talked about, foundation of what are statistics, a foundation of what analytics is. And but also along with that, you have to open up that space and time for them to learn. We have so many applications and tools that are not connected. So sometimes there's a level of manual work that needs to happen, right? Because that's a reality of most of the organizations, right? To even bring this data together. So I think that move to manual to automation as much as possible opens up the time for people to not work on capturing the data as much, but actually reflect on the data. And that just takes discipline, right? What is the timeline in sort of the cadence, right, that you set up for your team and for yourself as a leader to look at that data, and there has to be an investment of it. People are not going to do that overnight. Luckily, a lot of the tools are getting very savvy, and I think whenever you, um, you know, invest in an application and tool, I think as part of your negotiation should be having whatever that company is come and invest in educating you and your people on what those tools are. I always try to make sure that we do that because that should be part of the service and offering as well.
Hmm. Okay. Technology, just in general, like what's important? What what I mean, it's such an ever-changing issue, isn't it? Because it's so dynamic. What's important? Is there anything that you've used or seen recently that you think, yeah, that's great? Or what's your general sort of overview of recruitment technology today?
Well, I think it's easy to get really overwhelmed. And I think strategically, instead of running in 1,000 directions, it is important to think of your candidates and your recruiters and hiring managers and what are the pain points, and knowing your audience of where is the right time to introduce that technology, because it's not going to be the same for every person. So it's not the introduction out of the sake of adopting something. So where does it make sense for your people, and what is the best point? And where is it meaningful and impactful. So I think things that lead to customization and personalization of those interactions, in eliminating just very plain transactional work that your recruiters can do, and evaluating where those automations are needed, and really free time to spend time with the candidates. Because I think in this world of automation and technology, I think what people really crave is that one-on-one conversation, right? And not sending these generic automated emails, but personalizing, and then the ability to have that conversation. So I would advise them just being very strategic, and not adoption just for the sake of adoption, because right now it's kind of like an overwhelming perspective, right? No one has figured out AI, and whoever says they did, I don't think that's quite possible, because it's constantly evolving daily, right? So you have to put a strategic lens, right? Because it's easy to get overwhelmed, and it's easy to spend a lot of money in a number of applications that, if you haven't connected the dots correctly, is really not going to yield an ROI or the best use of your time, right? Because whenever you adopt something, you have to analyze, then figure out how you're going to design it, implement it, test it, and all that takes away from recruiting time. So being strategic is important.
Yeah, wonderful.
I don't know if that was the
Ilenia,
answer you were looking for, but that's just kind of how I think about it constantly, right? Where does it really make sense and truly adds value?
That's the really important reason why I'm doing this, because there is no answer I'm specifically looking for. And talking to so many different people about this subject is just great for the people that listen to these interviews, because they get so many different perspectives. And yours has been wonderful. We've covered a lot of different things today. So, Ilenia, thank you very much for taking the time to join me. Muchas gracias y hasta la revista.
Un placer.